Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Tuesday, September 19, 2023. That's 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having a time for change call tomorrow night, Wednesday, at around 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk about monetary systems on the planet. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Making the decision to take yourself to the next enlightening level, you want to start with the commitment to get to know yourself more intimately. Most of the root of our situations that we encounter is that we don't know ourselves. And none of us are exempt. I mean, there's certain areas that we don't have the knowledge, we haven't discovered it yet, so we don't go there. We don't know how to go there. But when I say it's all about you, it is all about you. It's about how you feel about yourself on an ongoing basis. How much do you deeply love yourself on an ongoing basis? How often are you gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself? No matter what comes into the picture. Yeah, the ego mind is relentless, but you're able to get to the point where you're able to identify that. You just don't engage. Keeping your frequency at an all-time high is by staying in deep gratitude 24/7. These are all crucial elements that lift us into higher existence, higher frequencies. And when we do that, we have a different picture that's created. We don't view things the same way. We begin to understand what it means to love everything. The good and the bad parts of yourself and everything around you. We were taught, programmed, to be what we are right now. All of us were. And to be able to identify that, which we're doing, it means we're halfway there. Even to acknowledge it. And it's about the decision to reprogram oneself. Well, how do you do that? You start by focusing on the now. Listening to your breath. Being still. Doing nothing. Just being. Listening. Not with expectation or attachment, but listening. Viewing the ego mind from outside, which means you've left it alone. You're not participating in its ideas and all the thoughts and all the information it throws at us. We've been conditioned to be a certain way on this planet. So we therefore believe we're like in a bubble. And we're in a position, we've been put into a position to be limited in our existence, limited in these bodies, limited in the physical material life, believing that some things are just not possible when everything is possible and anything is possible. We don't look at that. We're more caught up in what? What are we caught up in? Ourselves, worry, stress, and fear. Most of us live in yesterday or tomorrow. You could be right in that moment. You're thinking about what, have you ever done this? You get up in the morning, right? Like we all do, most of us get up in the morning. And you ever notice how your mind has you already thinking about what you're going to do as specific the next day? You ever notice that? It's not in the moment. You're all, as soon as you wake up that day, that morning, you're already projecting what you're going to do about certain things tomorrow. We all do it. It's not a bad thing. And so when that happens, you say, okay, I'm in the now. I'm focusing on the now. I'm just not interested in tomorrow or yesterday. They aren't here yet. You ever put something together, plan something, and all of a sudden you're sick and you can't do any of it? That's happened to a lot of us. Or have you ever planned something, right down to the hair follicle, and none of it works out? Things happen. Have you ever just said, I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this, do that, and whatever happens, happens. And you have the time of your life. It's like you have a group over here that plans and structures and not saying it's negative, not saying it's a bad thing. And then you have a group over here that say, I just go with the flow. Whatever it may be, it may be. This is more fearless because you have accepted with yourself that anything is possible, so anything can happen from one moment to the next. And you don't have an issue with anything. You're going with the flow, you're downstream thinking, and you're in deep gratitude. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to accomplish anything. You don't have to win at anything. You don't have to compete at anything. You're in the now, being. Of course, we've been programmed to think that, that's not good. You've got to do this and do that, and you've got to accomplish this and accomplish that. All along, we have been chasing all the things that we've been programmed in this life that we believe are important to us, right? Getting this or having that or doing this or doing that. Being with this person or that person or agreeing around these kind of people or that kind of people. So we are, in an event, we are chasing things outside of us because we believe that's where we're going to receive happiness and joy and a sense of accomplishment and ease and peace and prosperity and abundance. When, if you were to turn that, right, do an about face, and you just would focus on the now, and you would request to the universe what you wanted, and then you would know automatically that it was being formed as soon as you said it. Because when we get, and understand that the family of the planet, the family construct, has served its purpose. It's no longer effective. Sure, there's still family close ties and this and that, and that's a good thing, and not negating that. But we as a civilization will determine to progress. And I use this analogy with a conversation I had this morning, is that what would a child, now think about this. Child today, in today's world, a child is born, right? And then the mom and the dad, the mother, the father, raise the child. This is different perspectives, right? And then you have other people's thoughts that intermingle, right? That you absorb as a child. Because you're like this big thirsty sponge, and you're absorbing everything that's discussed and it's talked about. And you're just absorbing it. You're constantly on this absorption of information because we're like an empty vessel, and that's all poured into us. So we develop our character, our personality, everything. And most of it now, this is kind of tricky because it's not like the parents are doing this on purpose, right? They were taught a certain way and programmed a certain way as their parents and so on and so forth. So it's information that's being recycled down through generations. You used to watch that? That's what's happened. And it's redundancy. So now you flip the switch to New Earth, and you literally have this structure where the child's exposed to maybe a handful of men and a handful of women as the child is growing, and has this exposure on a much broader range, takes in a lot, and understand that these people are from the understanding that they operate from the heart mind, that they focus on the now, and that they know that they're the God in the body. And they begin to teach the children this. Now remember, a child is an open book. It's a big empty vessel. So you fill it with certain things, programs, just like we were filled. But yet this time, the variety of information and the different perspectives from each woman and each man is phenomenal. And so the child begins to gain vast amounts of knowledge, is forming their personality, character, attitude, outlook, direction, but not just from 2 sources, from maybe 10 as the child's being formed. That's huge. Now, what would that do in the long run, long term? You would have people that knew who and what they are, that know how powerful, that they're super manifesting beings. You would have a God planet paradise. We're already the kingdom of God within. We are already heaven on earth. The heaven is the God within that body, the real you, and the earth is the body. So, we are heaven on earth already. It's just that many of us don't know that, nor probably don't have the confidence, trust, or faith in themselves to embrace that. When we have this, and we know this, when you have a planetary civilization that has been literally programmed and treated, that it has no power, that it's insignificant, that it's useless, right? And it believes this, then you're able to control it at will. So what do you have? You have governments that do this. You set up the governments to suppress the people, which you can look everywhere and read everything and find that all of the forms of governments that we've experienced not only in this lifetime but many others are not natural for us. We do it, we engage it, right? But they're not natural for us. We don't feel at ease. Do you feel at ease? Have you ever felt at ease with anybody of authority? Now understand what authority means. It means that you give that power, you give whatever, claiming whatever that authority. That's it. Nobody has authority over anybody else. They're their own authority. They're their own responsibility. But not anybody else. You can be one and be different, right? We have all these different facets of the one, the collective consciousness, pure consciousness. And we review and look at things along the way. And some of us get to the point that says, it's time to reprogram myself. I know that I have been programmed by other people's thoughts. This is how we take on certain characters, right? Certain things that, you know, someone might say, a brother or sister might say, that reminds me of what Mother used to do, or that reminds me of what Dad used to do. So we do certain gestures and things that remind us of those before us. When we get to a point where we say, okay, it's time to dump this stuff. Time to dump the trauma I've been carrying with me. Time to dump all of the things that I have been dragging along with me in this life that I have even brought from other lives. And see, no one can do it for you. You can go to a psychiatrist and maybe they'll help a little bit, or you can go to an analyst or whatever. But all in all, it all boils down to one thing. You. You to have the trust, faith, and confidence in yourself, to know without a shadow of a doubt that you are a God within that body, that you are not the body, that the body is a vessel that you use to experience physical material life. And along the way we learn through experience. Knowledge is nothing unless you have experience first. If you have the experience, then you have the knowledge. Anybody can be book knowledge. But what about experience knowledge? Huge. Right? It's like people ask you, have you done this before? Yes, I have. Huge difference. It's like someone says, have you done this? And you say, yes. Then they say, maybe I should do it. But don't look for me to answer your question of yourself. You answer it. The answer is within you anyway, always has been. And we have different, you know, the old saying, different strokes for different folks. It's like, you know, somebody, you might say, oh, that person's weird. But you might, you know, think about this. You might dress a certain way. You might be a certain way because you choose to be that, right? You're not trying to impress anybody. You enjoy it for yourself. Now, those who are asleep, they operate a different way. They operate, well, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to wear this because I think people will think this or that, or say this or that. See, the majority of us work in a herd mentality. Now, it's not like we know it or we're cognizant of it, but it's been proven over and over again in testing that we have the herd mentality, which means we all huddle together and we follow each other. And we move as a group, but we don't know that we're as one. If you see a flock of birds in the sky, have you ever seen them? You know, that how they move? They move as one. There's usually a point, not all the time, but there's usually some kind of a point to the frequencies of this body of birds. And they just fly through the air as one. Not erratic, but right, spot on, perfect. It's amazing to watch. Very relaxing. Or you see a school of fish. And they all move together. You ever notice you watch them? They move together. Now we have a propensity. This is where we understand how this control factor works. Once we understand it, we know how to elevate or transcend out of it. So you have the people that are quite different than you. And you have, so when you interact, let's put it this way, when you interact with certain people, it's frustrating. And why is it frustrating? Well, because to you, they don't make sense. You do your best, but they just don't make sense to you. Some of the things that you might suggest or ask of them, and you don't make sense to them. And we aren't here to save them. I mean, it's their decision to be who and what they are. Have you ever thought about when you're in a mode and you don't judge? You don't judge people. There is a draw to judge people that you feel, kind of a pulling, ego mind. But you say, no, there's no reason. I'm judging that person, I'm judging myself anyway, so why would I do that? When we come to the full understanding that we love ourselves. This is a very high love. It's not a romantic love. It's a very deep, eternal love. And when you can honestly say and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself. It's not bragging or anything. Remember, it's through the heart mind. It's not through the ego mind. I deeply, truly, eternally love myself. Exactly the way I am in this very moment. Now these are, you kind of turn these into, as I've mentioned, mantras. They're frequencies. That the words are the frequencies as you speak them. You can tell a difference, for example, when you love something or hate something. Can't you feel the difference of the frequency of the energies between those two? When you say to someone that you hate them, then you say to someone that you love them, you feel that's a huge difference. Huge. And we start to become cognizant of the fact and the understanding that what? Love is the highest frequency that we can experience. And of course, there's varying levels of it. Varying levels. Many. And it's ironic that we, in this body, the gods that we are pure love. That's the energy that makes up love. All forms of it. All levels of love. Yet doesn't it seem like, in a way, that we're fighting that understanding? That we're actually in a battle with it? Or do we see it as vulnerability or that we're soft and we're not strong because we're deep, pure, eternal love. When you have two people and one tries to instigate the other, you have two directions, right? Pretty much two directions. If you ignore them, that will infuriate them. In most cases. Now, if you argue and antagonize them, there will be confrontation. But if you, when you send out vibrational frequencies of love, peace, contentment, and they're way out of hand, they're totally distraught, they have a lot of issues, and you can tell they want to be violent. Doesn't matter with who, just anything, anyone. And you temper that by your response, by your energy, your choice of a higher frequency with that being is huge. So you have those options. Or you can just run away from them. But they're very confrontational, so your approach is not to antagonize them. Your approach is to do gentleness, kindness, generosity, and humbleness. They could be yelling at you, screaming at you, or he's talking with you, trying to get you to spark off at them. And it doesn't happen. But yet you're communicating with them. You're not ignoring them. And the majority of the time, that totally dispels their level of anger. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you're going to stand there and someone's charging at you, you're just going to stand there and let them run right over you. But when you do things, you do not do it from anger. You don't. That really pulls your frequency down, which attracts that same kind of dank energy. It's hard to get out of it. It's not simple. I've known people to be in it their whole life. Think about that. Be miserable, distraught, hurt, pain, sorrow, anguish your whole life. How many times have you been in a situation where you really wanted to do something negative? Okay. But then something came over you and you decided not to? You shift in the other direction, higher frequency. It affects the people. It affects people. Even if they're mentally ill, it still affects people. The experience that we have literally been exposed to, and we've experienced things in the last, let's say, for 7 years. Have educated us through that experience. We have a wealth of knowledge now that we didn't have 10 years ago. We know, don't you sense it when you're listening to something? You're in the heart mind. You're not out to prove anything, prove you're right or wrong. But it's just a sense. It's a feeling. And you know it. And it's not like you want to go out and just tell everybody. It's just that you just know that all of this stuff is false. Completely false. And you know it. See, it's not like guesswork. You know it emphatically through your heart mind that this is all just garbage crap. I don't care to expend my energies. It's a low frequency. You go to a movie. Okay? We've all been to a movie at least once, right? In this lifetime. You go to a movie and the movie, you know there's some elements in it that you're going to get really sad. Low frequency. Okay? Or you're going to cry. Or you're going to get angry. A lot of different things. But you go to the movie. And the movie affects you. And your frequency is lowered. Now, when you go to a happy movie and you get out of that happy movie, your frequency is high. You go to a low-frequency movie, murder, death, kill, blowing up, bombs, blood, it affects you by lowering your frequency. Now do you understand why there's not that many happy movies at this very moment on this planet? Happy movies. No underlinings. Just pure happy movies. Can't have that because you'll increase your vibrational frequency. Can't have people being more happy than sad. We've got to have them be sad. So as you progress, you start taking in more. And you start understanding more. And it's kind of like that aha moment. Oh, now I get it. Now I understand. Took me a bit there, but now I got it. Questions to ask yourself. How happy am I? And if it's not that great, embrace why it's not that great. Usually it's through the ego mind. In fact, it's about all of the emotionalities and the twistedness of the planet and society. It's through ego mind. You know it. See, you know that the heart mind is the place, your natural state of being. You also know that you have been in the ego mind forever. It's not like you're ignorant to that fact. And you find yourself at times, you're saying, why is the ego mind so relentless to keep me in this place of yesterday and tomorrow? Because you suffer. Okay, you suffer. And we know that. We know. You know when you're suffering. It doesn't have to be astronomical. It can be a little light. But when you worry and you stress and you fear, you suffer. And isn't it interesting? It's by choice that we make. We make the choice. You might say to somebody, hey, Ben, you seem to be in so much pain and turmoil and frustration and anxiety. Do you know that through your heart mind in one split second you could just shift that completely? See, this planet is transcending to a creator planet, a conscious one. God, planet, paradise, creator planet. Do you realize that all of us have the power to shift this planet into any direction we choose, collectively? That's how powerful we are. And when we acknowledge that through the heart mind, then we start looking at things from a whole different perspective. You start identifying yourselves, I'm an omnipotently powerful, immortal, supreme being who has a tremendous mastership over manifestation. That's what I really am. That's what we all really are. We're not a herd. We're not a herd that can be herded around, told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, told when to get up, told when to go to sleep, told when to eat, what to eat, how to eat, told how to breathe, how to be. I mean, it just... So you could basically say, for the most part, those who are awake are no longer slaves on this planet. Now, a lot of people don't think that way, but it's true. You're no longer chained to what? A government. You're no longer chained to fakes, false authorities. You know, you begin to learn that you're the authority of you. That's it. You're not the authority of anybody else, nor they you. What is your natural state of being? Bliss, joy, happiness, peace, generosity, humbleness, kindness, tranquility. This is our natural state of being. Slavery is sure as heck isn't. But this is what's happening to people. They're coming out of bondage because they've been slaves for generations. All of humanity has been slaves for generations. Everyone. For thousands of years. What happens when due to collective consciousness, that this entire financial system is being evaporated? Okay? And that the wealth of this planet is being distributed and given to you. For what purpose? So that everybody could be drunken sailors and wealth beyond imagination? No. So that people take the responsibility along with governing themselves to help others. How often have you been in a position in this life where you have said to yourself, if only I had this, I could really help a lot of people? Right? I'd love to be able to help this person, but I'm just unable to. Because we first is us. You're first. You're number one to you. You're never in the back seat. Right? You. Our number one importance is you. Of navigating that body in this planet, in this life. Responsibly. Having responsibility for your own life and your own self-governance. Knowing that you're not here to do harm. That's a really low frequency. You're here to help. It's like, how many times have people commented that, oh, if we all had this and this and this, none of us would work and we wouldn't do this and this. See how the society has structured things? And when you go far into the future, and you see a structure where computers are the authority over the biologics, over the people, and you report to computers, and the computers evaluate you and scan you and do everything, and no one really wanted to work or anything, okay? You know why? Because they are not happy. And they are not consciously aware that they are the God. That's the only reason. Maybe you've experienced an extended period of happiness not knowing why. No catalyst, not like you got something, not like you bought something, whatever. It's just natural bliss that you're bathing in. Is just wonderful. And it may last all day. I get a lot of people that will say to me, "Oh, I'm having a really bad day." It's because you've identified it as a bad day, so guess what? It's going to be a bad day. Whatever the catalyst was that launched you in that dungeon direction, you didn't say, "I don't care to participate in this. I'm going to go over here and focus on my happiness." And how do you do that? Through gratitude. It's like I'm deeply grateful for this very moment I'm in. Now, you have someone that doesn't have legs, and you have someone that has legs. All right? Who appreciates walking more than the other? Who is grateful for walking? Which one? Who is the most grateful for being able to walk? Now, when the other one looks at the other one saying that you don't have any legs, how do you walk? Well, I've got these prostheses. I put them on. You know, it's an artificial foot or whatever, leg, and this just makes things look normal. But they're super grateful that they're in the body and that they can walk. The other person has taken the ability to walk for granted, completely. Never given it the time of day. Until they come across the other person who has no legs. And maybe, not everybody, but a lot of people respond by saying, "I am deeply grateful I have my own legs that are carrying me around." And it's not from the head, it's from the heart when you say these things. And we have these abilities, and they shine through. They're never not there. And you make a commitment. It's up to you. If you don't stand up for what you want, you become like a child who cannot speak yet and simply accept whatever your parents give you. It's like, "Oh, well, this person has a rough life. They're always going to have a rough life. It's just the way life is," right? If you can know who you are, if and when right? That your discovery is you know who and what you are and what you really want in this life, what you really, truly want in this life. This universe cannot just hand you the scrap decision leftovers that are stuck at the bottom of the barrel. If you don't stand up for what you want, you become like a child who cannot speak yet and simply accept whatever your parents give you. So you make this decision right in this very now moment that you will always be able to clearly articulate what you desire. This is one simple choice which contains so much potential, power inside. It will transform your life in the most interesting ways. It's a big risk to go after what your heart truly desires in this life. So get to know why you want what your heart truly desires in this life. So get to know why you want these things in life. What is it going to give you when you experience it? If you had excuses that would stop you from receiving it, what would those be? Who we are in this life is not all about what we desire to manifest, yet our desires are great pointers to help us unravel the beautiful mystery within, the God. So look deep inside yourself and ask yourself, where do you want to be, do, and have in your life month from now, week from now, year from now, 3 years from now? Really sit with these questions. The more clarity you can discover today will impact on some level the quality of manifestation you attract to you in your future. Decide right now what you truly want in this life. Can be challenging because it feels like you are defining who you are and who you are not. If we commit to deciding to do one thing, we can feel confined that we are excluding 1,000 other possible options. The other reasons why decisions are often so challenging is the time frame or deadline we form around them. If we had an infinite number of years to reach our desired outcome, we might become so relaxed about the whole life thing that it wouldn't matter if any decision was ever made. The enlightened path to discover here is that the limitations we feel around time and resources can work for us or against us. When we are thinking that we don't have an abundance of money, love, time, creativity, or manifesting power, it can force us to get deeply creative. When we have consequences to our choices, a price tag that we have to pay for every decision made or not made, we become even more reverent beings who are conscious in choosing who we want to be and why we are here. When it comes down to reality, believe it or not, we have full choice as to if we entertain this belief in limitation or not. The mind will make up all sorts of stories about what is true and real. Our infinite spiritual nature contains the realization that there are no limitations whatsoever, no death after the body is gone. Deep down, we know that we have an infinite resource of manifesting power inside us, an eternity of time to create anything we desire. There's no such thing as a person. There are only restrictions and limitations. The sum total of these defines the person. The person merely appears to be, like the space within the pot appears to have the shape and volume and smell of the pot. Nisargadatta. I join you in a meditation. I return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Notice how your whole being expands when you allow your heart to remain open and continuously giving and receiving love. An open heart causes you to have an open mind. This divinely balanced state is available with every breath you take. Easy is the life when the door remains open. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the night and into the following morning. We'll return here Wednesday, September 20, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call, and around 9 p.m. Eastern to continue our time for change call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest, eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on around you, outside of you, or inside.